Kakadosh Boker Tov, Masechet Shekalim Daf Tet Vav Amud Aleph 15a1. We were talking about that we just made a differentiation between the Niske Egel and Niske Shor to teach you that when it says the word Kacha Ye'aseh Lashor Echad, when you're going, this is what you're going to do to the ox. So there's no difference between the wine libations of an Egel, of a calf, and a Shor and an ox. Remember that the calf is the first year, and the Shor, right, is going to be.
And they did make a distinction.
Right?
The lambs.
Yes, the lambs over there. The one is Sonim or two is Sonim. So, O la'ayil lamanema. Why does it say O la'ayil or for the ram? Shaya bedim, because I would have thought to say, if they made a differentiation between a 1-year-old and a 2-year-old, okay, to do with the keves men shana, lekach nachlok. So therefore, we're going to make a differentiation also in the ram between a 2-year-old and a 3-year-old. Okay, Tamulomar comes teach you, it's all the same halacha to do with the rams. It's all one halacha. We don't make a differentiation in between the years. Ola seba the kivasim. Lama nema, what does it say? Sheya bedin, because it was in the din, mitzanu shechile beniske keves, right? Beniske ail. If they made a difference between the keves and the ail, which was the first year and the second year, lekach nachlok also, so we're going to make a difference between the females, which is a kisba and a rachel, right? The sheep and the goat, right? It says over here, Tamulomar comes to teach you, Ola seba kivasim, that it's all the same. Okay, all by Zimmer and the goats, not only in the sheep. Lama ne'man, shayabadim, we would have said the same halachai. If we would have made a differentiation between the sheep and the ram, so therefore we're going to make a differentiation between the kid and the goat. Tamulomar, o ba'izim, hikish katan shabizim gedosh b'teyashim, maze b'shlosh login, just like over there, there's going to be 3 login of yain. So to the taish is going to be 3 login of yain. Okay, 3 logs. Remember, log is 4 times of the revit. So if the revit is 86 cc times 4, that's 1 log. Okay, if it's 150, so it's 150 times 4, and that's 1 log. V'shema yom katuv. Now, on these little tiny papers that they used to receive after paying, it used to be written the dates. Why? Because of the Rabbanim, the thieves. Because they would come and they would show the same week, which was the zug of the week beforehand. So says the Gemara, no. Which means like this. If you only had the day of the week, let's say it had Sunday, fine. So if I can't use it tomorrow or today because it's Monday instead of Sunday, I'll use it next Sunday. He said, no, you can't. Why? Because it was written also the Mishmar. Yeah, remember, every single week, right? There was every single week for 24 weeks, there was a different Mishmar, a different family of Kohanim that they used to serve the Beit HaMikdash. And then again, it started another 24. So it was 2 watchings of 24, right? Which is 48 weeks, right? So that's what they used to do. So it says over here, they had the Shem Mishmar. So it says the Gemara, Shem Hayom, Shem Shabbat, V'Shem HaChodesh Yekutuv Alein. It had the day, the Shabbat, and the month, right, was also written. So therefore, even if they wanted to, it didn't help. Because since they basically had the day and the Shabbat and the month and everything, so it didn't help also as well. Okay, so it also had here, it says in the footnote, obviously, it had the name of the Mishmar and everything, because if not, you still didn't help. Okay? Fine. Halakha Daled. Yeah? Okay, so this is the Mishnah Halacha Daled on Tetvav Amud Daled. Shte leshachot hayu b'mikdash. There were 2 different rooms in the Mikdash. Okay, achad lishkat chashayin ve'achad lishkat hakelim. One of them was lishkat chashayin. Chashayin are things which are done like in quiet, right? That means besides the 13 shofarot and everything, they had like 2 different chambers. One of them was the chamber of the quietness. Chashayin is like quiet.
Here, discreet.
Discreet, quiet. Same thing. Yeah. Okay. And one of them was Lishkat HaKelim, of the utensils. Lishkat Chashayin, why was it called? What was it, Lishkat Chashayin? Because the people that were God-fearing, they used to give it discreetly. And the Aniyim, which were very good Aniyim, they used to come and they used to get the money right over there in quietly also and discreet.
The poor people.
The poor people.
The fancy family.
Right. It says here,
so they wouldn't be embarrassed.
Yes, but it doesn't say you're fancy. It just says good families. Okay, good families. Meaning that it wasn't like you had a doubt whether they were, like nowadays you have a doubt that some people that they come and they're collecting and they've got houses all over the place. You understand? Yeah. Lishkat hakelim. Kol shu midnadev keli zorko letocho. Anybody that has a utensil would throw it inside of it. Ve'achad l'shloshim yom, and once every 30 days. Hagizbanim potchin ota, they used to open it up. V'chol kli shematzu bo tzorach bedek bayit manichin oto, anything which they needed for the bedek bayit. So they used to actually use it. Ashan and everything else, and then they used to sell it, and they used to get the money to the bay, which means like this. Let's say, for example, I had leftovers, whether it's going to be furniture. It's not actually written furniture. Here it's only written utensils, but I'm just giving you an example. Because nowadays they do a lot with this, with furniture and things like that, or even sometimes clothing. So what you do is you would accept everything. You would sell it at a cheaper price, but before selling it, you check. If the Bedek Kabai was able to use it for whatever usage, so then they would take it and they would use it. If they weren't able to use it, they would sell it. That money would come, and then afterwards they would go to the Bedek Kabai. So it was like a type of like a gamach or whatever you want to call it exactly. That afterwards the proceeds would go to the Bedek Kabai. Fine. Says the Gemara. Rav Yaakov bar Idi, Rav Yitzchak bar Nachman, Avon Parnasim, Va'avon Yahavin leRabi Chama Avoid leRabi Yoshaya Dinar, V'hu Yaviv leChoranim. So it says that Rabbi Yaakov bar Idi and Rabbi Yitzchak bar Nachman, they were Gabei Tzedakah, and they were giving to Rabbi Chama Avoy, the father of Rabbi Yoshaya, dinar, and they would give the dinar to other people that they would be embarrassed to accept it, Yashar, from the Gabei Tzedakah. So like they were like the intermediary, they were like the middleman in order to give it over, and they weren't embarrassed. Zechariah Chatanei Rabbi Levi, Zechariah the Chatan, the son-in-law of Rabbi Levi, Hayu Akol Melizin Alav. They used to come and they used to why? Because they used to say, what is this? He doesn't need to take tzedakah, he's taking tzedakah. What's going on over here? Min de damach, when he was niftar, they found out that they used to come and he used to give it to other people, meaning he used to take it, but he didn't need it himself.
Many stories are like that.
Right? But
Many
why
stories.
was he taking it for himself? Not because Bemet was for himself. He was taking it for the poor people, but they were embarrassed to take it. So he used to take it and he used to give it to them, even though it looked. The only question though is that I still don't understand why it's not that simple doing this.
I understand, but there are stories. I'm sure you know if this guy got
100%.
cursed and
No, but that's what I'm saying. But there's a lot of stories, but it's also it's not that simple. It's questionable because at the end of the day, which means you have to be naki from Hashem and from Israel. That's what we were learning in the last 3 dapim. Which means that people are going to start speaking about you that you don't need tzedakah and you're collecting tzedakah.
Actually,
it doesn't.
The stories I heard were misers who secretly.
Fine, okay, but exactly, that was different. And even by that, by the way, there is a very famous story with the Tosfot Yom Tov, where Rav Yom Tov, I think it was Heller or Lipnim, and basically what happened with him is that there was a miser in the city.
They didn't want to let
him
back.
That they never want him to. They buried him somewhere, this and that, and then at the end, what happened was he found out that the day when he was niftar, he supported everybody,
and then people had
through all the bakeries. He supported everybody, and nobody knew that. And he didn't want to give a penny, and everyone called him the miser and everything.
Yeah.
So what happened? He went and he wanted to be buried beside him. However, though, you should know that there were people that went to visit the students, meaning like the kever of the Tosfot Yom Tov, and there was a priest that was by the kever of the guy next door, of Yosef HaKontzan. There was a priest there.
Why?
So they asked why. What happened was that since he had such a bad name of being a miser, nobody of the Jewish community wanted to get married to them. So they got married out. And therefore, the descendants, he was a priest. A priest. And this I heard firsthand, right? Let me just. Rabbi Chanina bar Papa v'mafleg mitzvah balelia. So Rabbi Chanina bar Papa used to be mechalek the money in the nighttime in order that the people wouldn't be embarrassed. So he used to do it at nighttime. Chad zman paga beRabbeon beruchaya. It once happened, right? That there was it says over here there was a don ruchot ra'im, right? That he wanted to come and he wanted to damage him in the nighttime. Amarle, he went and he said, Lo ken alfe Rabbanan, didn't the rabbi say lo tasig gevul re'acha? Which means in the nighttime is the time of mazikim. What are you coming during the nighttime? This is
tradition not to give charity at night.
Right, there is such a thing also because of the zman of dinim, things like that. But basically, he was trying to say, listen, you're in my borders. You understand? So Amarle, he says, "V'loking is not written matam b'sedi yichpe'af." Right? What does that mean? My entire kavanah in the nighttime is to do it in order that to do a mitzvah, and therefore I'm not going to be damaged. So then the ruach started becoming afraid of him, and he ran away from him. Meaning at the beginning, the ruach, right, the spirit was going to damage the rabbi. But the rabbi said, "What are you talking about? There's a pasuk mefurash. I'm doing it for a mitzvah. So I'm doing the mitzvah, and therefore it's going to destroy you." So the guy took off. The ruach ran away. Okay. Amar Rabbi Yonah, says Rabbi Yonah, Ashrei noten ladal. What does that mean? Fortunate is the person that gives to a poor person. Ketiv kan, it's written here Ela ashre maskil. It doesn't say ashre noten el dal. It says ashre
So have them
maskil
in mind.
el dal. Exactly. זה שהוא מסתכל במצווה, איך לעשותה. You're trying to think, how do I do the mitzvah in order not to embarrass the person?
In the best way.
Yeah, in the best way. You understand? That means they would do it in such a way that it was done that nobody would find out about it. You understand? That means they wouldn't be embarrassed.
כאילו אומרים בצדקה, הרמה, הצדקה הכי גבוהה, של לסדר לו דווקא עבודה. אז כאילו שהוא...
אבל איפה זה כתוב פה, עבודה? משכיל just means that you're thinking.
שהוא חושב, איך אולי לתת לו...
No, איך לתת לו, exactly. But obviously the highest level is giving an עבודה. But it doesn't matter which level it is. It doesn't matter. But it doesn't matter exactly. But it doesn't matter which derech. But any derech that it is, as long as you're thinking how to give it in a respectful way, that's the best thing.
So what is the respectful to give him?
That's the highest level. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Keitza dayad Rabbi Yonah ose. How did Rabbi Yonah do? Because he was doreshes pasuk. He expounded this pasuk. Keshayar roe ani ben tovim sheyarem nechasav. When he saw an ani, right, that he used to go down from his properties, meaning that he had money, and all of a sudden he lost his money. Haya omer, he used to say, yeah, lo beni, v'shish shemati shenafla lecha Yerusha mimakom acher, right, tol, right, he says, by the way, I heard that you have a Yerusha from somewhere, right, and therefore you're going to give me the money back. So take the money, right, and then you're going to pay me back. Mean the hava nasiv, right, so then after the money that he used to take, havamala used to say, you know what, it's a matana. You don't have to give it back. Meaning at the beginning, he used to say, you know what? Okay, pay me back. I heard that you're going to get money soon, so pay me back. Yeah, there are checks in the mail, IRS. Yeah, so you'll pay me back. Yeah, what happened? All of a sudden, once it was already in the guy's hand, he used to say, you know what? It's a present. Yeah, that's what he used to do. Okay. So then it says, Chia barada itava savin minun manda hava yehiv lon mi ben resha shata letzomar rabba. So it says over here, Chia barada, there were zekenim, right? That if somebody would give them tzedakah, but that they used to give them tzedakah between Rosh Hashanah and Kippur, havon nisvin, they would accept it. But afterwards, after Kippur, they wouldn't accept the tzedakah. Amrim, because they would say the shatan gaban. They would say, right, because we already got in our year everything that we needed. That means between Rosh Hashanah and Kippur, they would accept everything. After Kippur, that's it. It's like a closed account. So whatever we needed for the entire year, we already have. That's what they would say. Interesting.
Brings the two versions. Some people says Rosh Hashanah decides, the other one says between
Kippur.
the 10 days.
Exactly, between the 10 days.
So
by the way, because of this machloke between whether it's going to be Rosh Hashanah and Kippur, was a famous story that I told you with Rav Peretz. You remember I told you there was a famous story with Rav Peretz, and he said that a person is allowed to test Hashem with masrot, so with maaser, giving 10%. So what happens? Somebody came. There's a gaon that says it has to be 20%, right, in order to test Hashem. But okay, whichever one it is. But basically, what happened was somebody came to Rav Peretz. He told him, "How does it work?" He said, "Very simple. Let's say I could feasibly. Let's say I could make this year. I'll just give you a number stum, right? So we not to take out Richard's eyes, right? Let's say I could make $1 million this year, right? So what happens is that, right? What do? I'm going to come and I'm going to give $100,000, right, to Maaser. Yeah, and I make a kinyan already. I give the guy the check already, and I make a kinyan that it's already his. And then I tell him, right, I'm going to come and I'm going to call you up when to cash it. So what happened that's what happened. A person went, right, and he wrote the $100,000 check. He gave it to Rav David Peretz, and he told him, okay, fine, I'm going to call you when to cash it. And the year started, right? He calls up Rav Peretz by Purim. He says, by the way, you should know, I made 75%, right? Hopefully, I'm going to call you up before Pesach, right, that you could already cash a check. He calls him up before Pesach. He says, it didn't work out, right? I actually it didn't. Okay, fine. It comes until almost the end of the year, yeah, and he still didn't get it. So he calls up to Rav David Peretz right before Rosh Hashanah, and he said, what's going on? He said, no, it's until Erev Kippur. He called him up on Erev Kippur. He says, cash the check. I made the full amount. So he cashed the check of 100,000. You understand? So you do a kinyan. You give the amount that you already have for sure. right? That means, for example, let's say I can make, let's say, between, 100,000 and 150. But I don't know, but I want to make obviously 150. So what do? Here's the 15,000.
You like a pre-deposit?
It's a pre-deposit. You're giving the check already, right? With the pre-deposit, right? And here's the money. And this is like a pikadon, and you're making a kinyan, as if to say that it's 100% already the rabbis, that this is for the tzedakah. You give it from now already. And then the count, though, goes until Erev Kippur. Meaning the count of the maaser will go until the next Erev Kippur.
Before Rosh Hashanah, for next year?
Yeah.
Is it only
Yeah.
annually?
You could give it now also. For example, let's say you didn't give the maaser until now, and you still say, listen, from now until the end of the year, I could still make whatever it is. Here's the check. We make a kinyan. Yeah, I'm open to doing it. Yeah, everyone there, Jean Paul, Babachaki, Alush, we could do it 100%. You give me the check, I make the kinyan, yeah, and we take care of everything. Yeah, fine, very good. So says the Gemara, Nehemiah, yeah, Ish Sichin Pagabo Yerushalmi Echad. So Nehemiah Ish Sichin, so he used to build the pits again for water, and there was a Yerushalmi Echad that's founded. Amarle, so Yerushalmi told him, right, Zake imi Echad tarnegolta. Give me a tarnegolet with tzedakah for my seudah. Amarle, he told him, Hachlach tumita de kupad. He says, here's a matbea to buy a piece of meat. Right, which means don't come and start, right? You have to buy so don't buy a tarnegolet, buy a piece of meat. The zavin kupad. So he went and he bought a piece of meat, and he ate it and he died. He was screaming and he's saying, he says, go come and eulogize the one that Nehemiah killed him. Meaning that since he was accustomed to eating this, right, and now he had to go down in his level and he had to eat meat instead of the chicken, right, instead of fowl. So what happened is that the guy died. So he went and he said it was considered that he killed him. Because basically there's a very important halakha that basically is that when a person's at a certain level of tzedakah, you don't have to bring him down, meaning that you keep him there. You understand? Nachum Ishkamzu, famous story of Nachum Ishkamzu. Hayam Molich Doron lebet Chamiv was once taking a present to his father-in-law. There's a story in Ta'anit as well, no? What does it say here? 33.
Somewhere else.
Yeah, Ta'anit. There you go. Pagabo Masechet Shekalim Daf. He was found by this guy that he was building. He was digging the pits. Amarle, he told him, Zakeni Madi Gabach, give me something that you have. Amarle, he said, Mechzor, when I come back. Chazar, he came back, and he found that he was dead already. Right? So, by the way, the Gemara, if I remember correctly, the story in Tanit, he said, let me get off the donkey. By the time he got off the donkey, he dropped dead. Yeah. That's what I remember from there, the Gemara. But here it's saying, no, here it says, when I'm on the way back. Meaning that, wait for me when I come back. So he went and he said to the, right there when he was by the Met, the eyes that he saw him and he didn't have mercy on him, they should become blind. The hands that they didn't stretch out to give tzedakah, they should be cut off. The legs that they didn't run to do the tzedakah, they should be broken. And exactly that's what happened to him. Rabbi Akiva went to visit him. Remember that Rabbi Akiva was Mishamesh Nachum Ishkamzu for 22 years when he was a student. Amarle, and he said, he was oy. Woe to me that I see you like this. Amarle, he said, woe to me if I didn't see me like this. Amarle, why are you cursing me? Amarle, he says, why are you pushing off Yisurin? Which means suffering is something good. Don't think that suffering is something negative.
Well, let me say this. Suffering has purpose. I mean, the word good is a difficult word.
Fine. It says here, Chavivim.
To the person.
Chavivim Yisurim.
You're not allowed to tell people.
Chavivim. Chavivim means it's precious.
Are you going to tell this person who's suffering and tell them that?
Richard. It's precious, right? When a person's not suffering, you could tell it to them. Yes. When they're suffering, don't rub it. What's your expression? Don't kick a dead horse, right? But if right now a person's not suffering, tell them now. Chavivim Yisurim. Suffering is precious because it's a kaparat avonot. It's an atonement for the sins. Rav Hoshia Rabbah, Rav Hoshia Hagadol was the rabbi. He was a rabbi of a son of a blind person. So he used to eat with him every single day. Okay. So once he had guests and he didn't come to eat with him. So in the nighttime he came to him. He says, don't be upset with me. I had guests. Because I went and I said to myself, Telo livazui bikara demare yomaden, that it shouldn't be the kavod of my master today. And therefore, I didn't eat with you today. He says, he said, you are mefayeh someone that he can be seen, but he doesn't see. So therefore, den dechame v'lo mitchame, right? The one that sees should not see, which means that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, right? Ikabel piusach. He should accept your tefillah midah keneged midah. Right? So he says, Amalei, he went and he told him, Hada menalach, how do you know this chokhmah? Amalei, he said, Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov, from Eliezer ben Yaakov. Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov al chad saginora lekarte, because once it came a sumah that he was a blind person, he was an ani, to the city of Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov. So Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov, he took, right, and when he went into the tzibur, yativ le Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov leramine. So Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov went and he sat down beneath him. So way people would say, so what if he was such a good, he wouldn't sit beneath him. So because of that, they went and they gave him a lot of money. They gave him a lot of tzedakah, right? So now the summa, he says, 1 second, there's something wrong, because even the blind person understands that there's too many people coming and throwing in the coins. There's something here. So Amarlo, and he asked them, what's going on? So Amri, so they went and they said, Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov yativ leraminach. Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov is sitting beneath you. So he says, "V'tzaloi aloi hadatzlota." So he went and he prayed on him. You prayed, you did chesed with somebody that is seen but does not see. Then the chameh v'lo mitchameh. So to HaKadosh Baruch Hu that sees and is not seen, should do chesed with you. So this person, he learned it from Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov, from like the ani in the story of Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov, right? This concept. Okay, another story. Rabbi Chama bar Chanina and Rav Oshia who metaylim be'ilen knishta de Lod. They were metaylim in the Beit Knesiot of Lod. Amar Rabbi Chama bar Chanina and Rav Oshia, says Rabbi Chama bar Chanina and Rav Oshia, kama mamon shikeu avotai kan. How much money did our forefathers come and they went and they invested in building Beit Knesiot? Like what's going on over here? Amar le, he says, 1 second. Kama nefashot shikeu avotecha kan. How much money did they actually put on these Beit Knesiot? Yeah, so he says, "Lavi it b'nei nashti yelen b'oraita." What? People aren't learning Torah, right? And they're having parnasah from the money instead of building such big things. So basically, they were like asking, what's better? Is it better to give money to a Bet Knesset, right, or to be tomech b'tamid chachamim aniyim? That's the question. And instead, that means what's better, to build a Bet Knesset or to give money to poor people in order to learn? It says here the Chatan Sofer says that there's no question whatsoever, because it's permitted even to sell a Bet Knesset in order to give money to the Talmidei Chachamim Aniyim.
You're allowed to sell a Bet Knesset.
Yeah.
Pay for the support of Torah scholars. That's according to the Chatam Sofer.
Chatam Sofer.
In the base Yosef.
They can do anything with that property.
Yeah, no, they sell it. They sell it to somebody else, and the money they're going to support Torah scholars.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Obviously, we're talking about that there's there's many other Bet Knesiot, because if not, obviously, you understand.
Look, people that'll give Sefer Torahs, you understand? We have 20 Sefer Torahs, they got to give it. You could also support 20.
Rabbi Avun, Avadilen Taraya. Rabbi Avun, he went and he donated money, right, in order for making beautiful sharim, beautiful gates. Okay? Tedvav Mubet, 15b. The Sidra Rabbah of the Bet Midrash Agdol. Ata Rabbi Mana legabe. So Rabbi Mana came to him. And he told him, Chami Mayavati, see what I did. Amarle, he said, he said, well, you forgot HaKadosh Baruch Hu that you made him, and you built yourself like, these echals. What, there's nobody that's learning Torah? So basically, he gave him on the head. Okay? Tani Koche Amizbeach Motzin et Haraui Lahem. So we learned that Koche Amizbeach, they're going to actually take out everything what's needed for them. Koche Bedekabayit, right? But in Koche Bedekabayit Motzin et Haraui Lahem Koche Mizbeach, which means that you see that the Mizbeach, whatever the Mizbeach needs, they take it from Koche Bedekabayit. But from the Koche Bedekabayit, they cannot take it from the Mizbeach, which means that the Mizbeach, which is the altar, which is ongoing, which that's like the Torah, which is compared to it, you could take from the Beit HaKabai, which is the upkeep of the Beit HaMikdash, but you could not take from the upkeep from the Mizbeach. And that which we learn, right? So he says, but it's written that they would go to the Beit HaKabai, meaning that even the Kodesh Mizbeach would go to the Beit HaKabai afterwards. So you see from here, that's not correct. So Rabbi Chizkiah says, no, Keni Matnita, you have to explain the Mishnah by saying Lishkat Beit HaKabai. It's the lishka of the Bedek Habayit, which we're talking about. The lishka kelim was going for the Bedek Habayit, but not from the Mizbeach in itself, because from the Mizbeach, right, it would only be for the Mizbeach. It would not be able to go to the Bedek Habayit. It means anything that means the upkeep was secondary to the learning. So the learning has a higher level than the upkeep. Okay, Adran Alach, Eluena Mamunim. So we just finished that chapter as well. We're starting now the 6th chapter. Perek Shishi Halacha Aleph. 13 shofarot, 13 shulchanot, ו13, ishtachavayot. So there were 13 kupot, like shofarot, like shofars. There were 13 money changers. And there were 13 times that we actually bowed in the Bet HaMikdash, as we're going to explain in the following Mishnayot. שבית רבי גמליאל ושבית רבי חנניה סגן הכהנים משתחווים 14. So Rabbi Gamaliel and Rabbi Hanania, their families and everything, the Sgan HaKohanim, they used to bow in 14 places. Where was the extra one? Keneged Dina Etzim, Dira Etzim, opposite the lishka of the wood in the Bet HaMikdash. Shekem Masoret biyadam avotehem, because that's where they had a Masoret. Shesham Aaron Nigraz, the Aaron was put in Genizah. Remember that the Aaron was placed in Genizah. The Aaron was not destroyed, right? So the Aaron is actually placed in Genizah underneath the Bet HaMikdash. Okay, by the Dira Etzim. So that's why they used to bow there. There was a Kohen that he once was dealing with the different things there in Dira Etzim. So he saw one of the bricks on the floor, the tiles, was different than the other ones. So Bava Malech Havero, right? So he wanted to come and tell his friend in order to say, listen, there's something wrong here. Like, why is this brick different? He died before telling him. Yeah? So they knew biyuchud, that they knew for sure Shesham Aaron Ganuz. That means obviously the guy went and he found the secret, like tile to differentiate between where was Aaron found, and he basically died before giving over the secret. Yeah, so don't go over and tell over secrets.
7 years ago, and you're going to remember stuff you learned right now. 7 years from now, when you do it again, you're going to remember.
Yeah, you heard 7 years ago, you remember the story, but it's a famous story. That means basically, the story is a beautiful story, but it just shows that sometimes certain secrets are not supposed to be revealed. And if they do come and reveal, it could be actually be a problematic. You understand?
Don't be too nosy.
Yeah,
you don't know what it's going to be.
Curiosity killed the cat. Right? Okay, fine. Very good. So it says in the Gemara, Tani, we learned, Ashofarot alalu akumot hayu. These shofarot were akumot. Hayu tzarot, what does that mean? Akumot, it was like crooked. Tzarot milamalan, it was very narrow on the top, but on the bottom, it was very thick. That's why it's like a shofar. On the bottom, it's thicker, and then it becomes very narrow. Okay? Why? Mipnei ramain, because of the ramain. Which means because if they would put their hand all the way in, they would actually show ki'ilu they're putting money, but they would be taking money. I actually had a boy in my yeshiva that he was an expert in this. He used to come, he used to take a coin, he used to do like this, and he used to make the noise. And then he used to take it out, and he had the money. He didn't put a thing in. It was like a trick. It was like a mamash. They had like this type of a trick. So therefore, if they did that, these shofarot were straight, a person would be able to come in. He would put kilu the coin. You understand? Kilu, I'm putting the coin, and he would be taking out instead of putting in. You understand? So because of that, it was very narrow on the top, so you couldn't put your hand all the way down in order to get to the coins. So that's why they did it purposely. Okay? Tani Bishem Rabbi Eliezer. So look how much the Bet HaMikdash they thought and they suspected of Ramain. Right? You would think, listen, you're Bet HaMikdash, be transparent. Somebody told me, Rabbi, why do you have to have the tzedakah box has a lock? So I said, because of the Ramain. Because of the thieves. And it's true, they stole our tzedakah box. The one that we have, I told Baba Chaki, he has to look for a big one. Right? Because we have a small one. It's too small. You understand? It's not.
So you bring your goyim sometimes.
No, they're all the time. The cleaners are goyim, 100%. But even without that, here we're talking about only the Jews, and even with that, there was Ramain. So they did certain enactments in order to make sure that the Ramain would not come and they wouldn't trick. Okay, Tani B'Shem Rabbi Eliezer, they told him Rabbi Eliezer, Ha'aron gala imahen leBavel. The Aaron went to them in exile to Bavel, to Babylonia. Ma'itama, what's the reasoning? Lo yivater davar amar Hashem. Hashem says that nothing will be left over. En davar ela dibrot letocho. When it says davar, nothing, it doesn't mean nothing. Davar means the Aseret Dibrot, the 10 Commandments. But it says also l'tshuvat hashana shalach melech Nebuchadnezzar v'yivei Bavela in klei chemdat bet Hashem. So what is klei chemdat bet Hashem? The klei chemdat. Klei chemdat is like a beautiful utensil of the bet Hashem. Is the Aaron. So according to them, right? According to that opinion, the Aaron actually did go in exile. You understand? But another opinion says, Tani Rabbi Yehuda ben Lakish, Rabbi Yehuda or Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish, Omer, bimkomo yaron and nizah. It says no, it was put in nizah. Hadod dichtiv is certain pasuk yarichu abadim ilu ve'rasha badim min hakodesh shel pnei hadvir ve'lo yiru chutza. So then it says Ada Yom Hazen. It's going to be there until this day. So until this day means that it never came out of that place. So that's why it's in Genizah. Okay? Ktiva Yadeo, it's written that it's going to be there. And then you said you didn't see it. So I don't understand. It's going to be seen or not going to be seen? It's seen but not seen. Right? So it's like sticking out like two of the
breasts.
no, but the 1 second. So it says over here, right, like the chest of a woman. Now it says, Rabbanan says, the Lishkat Dira Etzim Yaron Ganus. So we're talking about in the Lishkat Dira Etzim, it was actually put in Genizah. There was once a Kohen Balmum that he was, right, like cutting Etzim, Lishkat Dira Etzim. So he saw that it was actually different, right? So he went and he told his friend, right? He didn't even finish until he passed away. So the same story that was brought down in Mishnah, but here it said it was interesting. It was a Kohen Echad Balmum, right? So it sounds like that, since he wasn't able to do the service, so he was one that was peeling the wood because he wasn't able to do the real service because he was a Balmum. He had a defect. They were hitting on top of it, right, with a hammer in order to make it straight and everything. And a fire came out and burnt him. Yeah, you understood? That means he was hitting on the floor and a fire came out and burnt him. Okay? Tanya, we learned of Yudam and Lakish, you know that there were two different aronot, two different coffins that were going in Yisrael and Yubar. One of them, the Torah was inside of it, and one of them was the Shivrei Luchot, the broken parts of Luchot. The Tunim Tuchot was inside of it. The one,
I thought they were both
right?
the same mark.
So it says here, the one that was the Torah was put inside of it, the was inside the Moel. That's why it's written, the one that had the Shivrei Luchot was inside of it, and Yechon was going in and out with them all the time. Sometimes they would go out to war also. Okay? But Rabbanan said, no, Aron Echadaya, there was one. It went out only once during the times of Eliah Cohen and was taken into captivity. Right? So because of that,
they got rid of it because it was killing everybody.
Exactly, it was killing them all out. So Karya Misayel Rabbanan. So there's a pasuk that brings up to the Rabbanan, to the rabbis. He says, why? Because basically they were afraid of the Aron. So it's mashma milad de lachamu min yom yehon, that there was something they never saw, which means that it made such a roshem that people were just like dying out because of the Aron and everything. Okay? It says here, Karya Misayel Rabbi Yehuda ben Lakish. So Karya, he actually said, he brought a proof from Rabbi Yehuda ben Lakish. It says, V'yom Shaul la'achya, it says Shaul to Achya, Hagisha Aron ha'elokim. Right, bring the Aron of the Elokim. V'alo Aron b'kiryat Yarim. He says, well, it wasn't in Kiryat Yarim, it wasn't in the war. So it's mashma that there were two different Aronot. One of them was in the Oel Moed, right? And then there was another one that they would take it out to war and things like that. Ma'avdun le'Rabbanan. What would the rabbis do with this pasuk? So it says, no, Hagisha Elai Atzitz. Right? It wasn't to the Kavanah, to the Aron, which had the Luchot or the Shivrei Luchot, but it was another Aron, right, that they had the tzitz, the chosh, and the ephod, which are the other clothing of the Kohen Gadol. Like they had like a certain like closet that the clothing of the Kohen Gadol was there. So Karya and Rabbi Yehuda ben Lakish, Haron v'Yisrael v'Yehuda yoshevim b'Sukkot. They were sitting in the Sukkot, right? Tetzayin Amud Aleph, 16:1 on the top. V'alo Aron b'Tzion. He says what? The Aron was in Yerushalayim, not in the war, but rather for sure it's like Yehuda ben Lakish. There were two different Aronot. So what do the rabbis do with it? Mavdin Rabbanan. It's not. It's like a schach, which is like a kirui. The Beit HaMikdash was still not built, so it was like a sukkot. It was like a sukkah. So therefore, it wasn't a binyan kavua fixed building, and that's why it was called a sukkah. It was in that form. Yeah, that's it. Okay, so Bezrat Hashem, we continue tomorrow.